مرحبا. I'm sure there's a mix of audience with different languages. So I will be speaking in English. Hello everyone. Let me just pin the subject so everyone knows. I'm just pinning the subject so we all know what we're going to talk about. Okay, so you can all see the topic. We will talk about how to put the puzzle together during the COVID-19 as parents and caregivers. We will give it another few minutes and then we start. Hello everyone, thanks for joining. We can already see some questions coming up here, so I'm going to write them down. Ellie, thank you for your question. So I have a question, what's my background? I'm an international child rights advisor and specialist. I will introduce myself in a minute after we start the session. Hello everyone, thanks for joining. We will go live in 1 minute actually. Okay, so I hope you all can hear me. That would be good if you can just say that you can hear me. So before I start the session, can you all hear me well? Yes, no? Yes, okay. I can see someone can hear me. Okay, great. So before I start, I want to say hello to everybody and say that I can understand that we are all in the same situation at the moment. Everybody is working from home, everybody is based at home, and we are going through, some countries are going through some lockdowns, some countries are going through some part of the, going out and not going out with permit. So as you know, as part of the session, we will talk about how to put the puzzle together during the COVID-19 as parents and caregivers. And the questions that we want to cover, one is, do we need to talk about the COVID-19 to our children? That's the first question that we will try to answer. And second, how do we support children emotionally? Because it's important. We can talk to children, but also about making sure that emotionally we can support them. It's not just opening the discussion, it's about making sure we use the right tools in making sure we cover it. So this is the second part of the question. And thirdly, how can children feel safe during this lockdown? How can we make sure they feel secure? because it's important as parents, as caregivers, to give them that reassurance and make sure that they understand that we need to stay safe by staying at home, and how we can manage every expectation from the children and from everybody in the family. So as an introduction to myself, some of you might have heard of me before, some of you might not have heard of me. My name is Maryam Ehsani. I'm an international child rights and child well-being specialist. I have been working for the past 10 to 12 years now internationally with different sectors, including health, education, government, and NGOs around the subject of child rights and child protection and child safeguarding. Currently, I am the founder and the CEO of Child Safe Me, an organization where it was established here in Dubai, in UAE, around creating safe environment for children within different settings. So when we talk about creating safe environment, is by setting the standards, the policies when it comes to the safety of the children within different sectors. So we operate in Dubai, and we operate also in the UK, and also we work internationally. So with this session, I would like to really give you an impression that it's not going to be a formal session. I want you to get very interactive with me. I want you to share your opinions and share all your worries and your thoughts with me, because this is why I am here, and I want to really engage with you as an audience to ensure that I answer every question that you have as part of today's session. So we are not going through a normal time now. I mean, we have to acknowledge that it's different. What we are all experiencing is very different, and it's not part of what we have known from our parents and from the previous generation. And also, is like, if we want to adapt ourselves to a new situation as an adult, we need to make sure we know the right measures, we know how things would work as an adult, let alone when we talk about children. So I want to ask you, what has been the most challenging part of the lockdown for you? If you can just share with me what has been your challenging part of the lockdown or the current situation of the Covid-19, just to get more interactive, so I have a sense that there are people listening here. So can we start typing in the chat box, please, what has been the most challenging part of the lockdown for you, if that's okay? Not able to go out? Yes, I can agree with this, absolutely. For me, it has been a big challenge as well. Controlling the kids' time, schoolwork, overthinking about the situation. Yeah, so yes, I mean, these are most of the common ones that we hear. I mean, I speak to many parents, to many different organizations, that they are trying to work around this situation. I have another one from Hanadi. She's saying, keeping yourself busy. Yes, we all want to be busy and not get bored during this time. Can't visit my mother, no school, no kids, only virtual communication. Yes, these are most common. Yeah, I'm just sad because my daughter said she's worried and sad because she can't go to school. More screen time. Yes, so these are exactly the things that I will discuss today, because we are all going through this together. And going out, it's part of a normal lifestyle, being out in the nature, going for a walk, going to work, and having that space that is not, you are not constantly in the house with your family or with your kids. So that has been the norm for us. And now everything is different. Now we are all at home, and all we are trying to do is to be active in terms of connectivity. We are all trying to connect all the time on video calls, Zoom calls, WhatsApp, so many different things. But also, I mean, I want you to think about this. We don't want to overdo something, because sometimes if we overdo it, we need to create a sense of balance. And having a sense of balance is something that, unfortunately, if we don't think about it or if we don't plan it, then we can get lost in the equation. So it's very important when we are looking at this situation together, we want to acknowledge that, yes, I can't go out. Yes, I can't do the normal things that I used to do, but am I going to do everything else in order to stay satisfied and stay busy? I mean, even when we were going out before and going to the office, we were not always busy. We had some time to ourselves, but unfortunately, with the time of being virtual, everybody wants to do something and overdo something. So I want to tell you something that, honestly, you don't have to be doing something all the time during the lockdown. I know when you think about it, it's like, okay, but we heard that you need to be active. Yes, you need to be active. I need to be exercising. Yes, you need to be exercising. But at the same time, have you thought about having a relaxation time for yourself? I mean, as an adult, I mean, I haven't yet gone into the subject of how to help the children, because if as an adult, we don't allocate the time for us to have a break, then it's very challenging for giving positive impact to the children. So it's really key to have a sense of balance. So in terms of the how we can stay safe as an adult, first the implication. The needs for information is key. I mean, we need to always know what's happening around us, depending on the country that you are in. What is going to happen next? What's the risk around the subject? But how many of you spend all your time or constantly watching news or reading news? I mean, come on, give me a show of hands. How many of you read the news every day, a few times a day? I am sure many of you do it. I sometimes can't help it and I want to know what's happening. But honestly, I think if we limit the information, the amount of information that goes into us, goes into our brain, it's very positive. We don't need to be scrolling down Instagram constantly about finding out what can we do, how can we stay active. But more likely, it's about really staying positive and trying to help everything that you have around you, rather than just constantly listening to the news and being able to connect virtually. So the need for safety, of course, it's very important. You know, we need to all feel safe, but safety has a different meaning to everybody. So if we want to ask children, what is safety for them? I assure you that the answers you will be getting from them, it's very different to what you will be answering as an adult. Try this with your kids. Ask them, what does safety means to them? It could mean like just having you around, or you looking into them when they are doing a drawing, and that gives them a sense of safety or of good feeling. So it's really important when we try to do something for the children, we need to involve them with us. If we don't involve children when we make decisions around their safety or their well-being, we can have an impact because we are only using our own thinking, our own judgment in order to do that. So I'm reading here, so I used to read the news several times a day. I stopped. Yes, so once a week, it's good. Once a week is good. I mean, believe me, if it's an emergency, something is happening, you will hear it no matter what. I am not saying we should disconnect totally, but we should be very wise in terms of how much information we get into our brain or into ourselves. And believe me, when if you see children playing or sitting around reading their books and you are listening to the news or talking about the COVID-19 with your partner or with others during a virtual conversation, your child is recording all the information. So don't think for a second that these small ears are not really hearing what you are saying. So everything that it's been circulated at home, it will be going into their little brains and they will be recording all of this. So it's very important to really know what types of information you are giving to your children. So it's challenging for us as an adult to stay balanced. So if we are like not balanced in ourselves, how on earth do we want our children to be balanced in what they do? So all of our worries has been, or even if you look at the news, everybody's talking about e-learning. Everybody's talking about let's have children active online. Let them do studies online. That's very good. But it's not the only thing. You know, if we talk about the well-being of children, we need to really acknowledge that we cannot replace them going to school in face-to-face interaction to be replaced by virtually. Yes, we can use online for their learning, but then when it comes to saying, okay, how much time the children will have online, this is something that we need to discuss. It's not going to be easy because children will be feeling bored, or some of you work from home and you are constantly on conference calls, and your children, the only way they can stay they can stop distracting you is by going on their iPad, or they will be going and doing their own thing. So we need to make sure that we control that time. You know, I suggest, I mean, as an adult, every week you schedule your timetable. So as parents, you can say, okay, Monday, I will be doing this and that and this. So you have to have a schedule. If you don't have a sense of schedule, which day is today, because we can lose that very easily. I mean, because when we are at the office or working with others face to face, we always know, is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? But when it comes to working from home, sometimes you can get lost in terms of where we are. So create a schedule for yourself as a parent. Then with the children, you need to do the same thing. So if we are talking about the age differences, so some children, obviously it depends on their age range. We don't want to overload them with information, but we want to make sure that they understand that even if they don't go to school, there is a timetable. And how is that timetable? Depending on what time they used to go to school, you can maybe do it a bit later or same time, but you have to schedule a time in order for the child to know that there is a timetable for them, and it's not just because schools are closed, so now everybody can be free and can be doing whatever they want to do. I've been speaking to some parents, and they say to me, Maryam, honestly, we love this, what's happening now, because we can wake up anytime, we can have breakfast anytime, we can sleep late, and the kids are watching TV all the time. So it's perfect. We're having a perfect family time. But I can assure you, the problem will start after this COVID-19 is finished. It's very important to have a schedule, to have a sense of timetable, a balance in your lifestyle around your children and around yourself. Because otherwise, when everything goes back to normal, which I don't think is going to go to back to normal, it's going to be a new normal, because we all going to be adjusting to a new lifestyle, a new way of living. So it's very important to acknowledge that we don't want to be doing exactly what we were doing when we were not on the lockdown. We want to adapt a new way in order to help us, in order to really give us that sense of courage and empower us to be able to work around the current situation. So also, if we talk about, the exercises that you can do with your children. So let's first have an honest discussion. How many of you do a check-in with each other as adults? I mean, if you are a single parent, I can understand that you cannot have a check-in with a partner, but if you are having a call with family or siblings or with anyone that you're talking, how many of you in this call now do a check-in every day with each other? And when I say check-in, it means to sit down without any distraction for 2-3 minutes to ask your partner or to ask your siblings, to ask the person you live with, how do you feel? How was your day? What did you like about today? And what did you not like about today? So it's very important to understand that we cannot keep going with this situation without listening to each other. And when I say listening to each other, listening without judging, because we can be easily judging each other when there are things that, for example, if it doesn't agree with our lifestyle, we can be having an idea that this is not fair, they shouldn't be doing this. So first of all, as a to-do list, do a check-in with your partner. Understand how you feel. Similarly, when we talk about children around the COVID-19, first of all, the question is, what is the age range that we need to have a conversation with to our children? So how many of you already started the conversation around COVID-19 with your children? Can I have a show of hands? How many of you? Yes or no? Let's see if anyone has started the conversation. Okay, how do you prepare children for going back to school? Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so we have some show of hands, which is good. Okay, the interesting thing would be, the next question is like, how did you do it? So basically, also it depends on that's very good. I can see that a lot of people is saying yes, that they started the conversation. Okay. Yeah, so let me tell you about this. So if we have started the conversation, we need to really understand what is the age range of the children. So if we're talking about children under 6 years old, you can start by, have you heard of the paper plates game? If you haven't, I can show you how you do it. So basically you can cut out small circles, or if you have these disposable plates, and then you can do a sense of feelings. So you can cut them and ask your children every day, during the day, depends on your timetable, how do they feel? So there are different types of feelings that you can be adding into the paper plates and cut them out. And you need to be able to communicate this message with your children under 6 years old. If we're talking about above 6 years old, when we talk about the COVID-19, again, we need to also acknowledge what is their level of learning. So not every child is the same. That we all agree. In terms of learning, we all stand in a different place, and when it comes to children, it's very similar. So understanding our child, it's key. That's the first thing. Second thing, when we talk about the COVID-19, as I said, if it's under 6 years old, you need to get their feelings out. So first, by doing this game that I just shared in terms of the paper plates. Second, you can ask them to draw the picture of a virus, or if they have heard of it. And believe me, when you start asking them what they know about it, you will be surprised. Only today, I was speaking to a family that the mother, she mentioned to me that she actually started talking to the child, and her daughter, which is under 6 years old, she told her that, Mom, I'm stressed. I am very worried. I don't know what's going to happen to my classmate, to my teacher, to my school. So it's, you see, even if you haven't started the conversation, the fears are already there. Fears are something that we create as we go along. And as I said earlier, sometimes it's not by direct contact that they get the information. You could be talking on the phone to someone else and they can be hearing the conversation. And they can create that fear, that anxiety in them. So it's very important. And then if we talk about teenagers or older children, it's more challenging because we always hear that children who are teenagers are more difficult to talk to. How do we talk to them about this subject, and how do we engage them? Again, you can ask them to maybe do a session for you to explain to you what they know. So something like they can act as a teacher or tell you exactly how they feel about the situation. We have a question. My daughter didn't accept to talk about. How old is your daughter, if I may ask? Yes, so their brains absorbs a lot. You will be surprised that they know already a lot. So it's very important to really acknowledge that before we go ahead. And also, I mean, if we talk about how many times like you hear that stress and anxiety should not be talked about in a family setting. She's 6 years old. Okay, so I mean, it would be interesting to know, how did you try to have a conversation with her? Because there is different ways, and I can be also sharing some tools with you or games, I mean, which can help you obviously to start a conversation with her and see. It could be that she's really stressed that she can't even have a conversation, so we need to perhaps do a dancing session, put her favorite music and see how she can dance, or she can show you how she feels by drawing something for you. So it's very important to use different methods when it comes to speaking to children about their feelings. So I was going back to what I said. Anxiety and stress, it's okay to have. You know, we always hear people saying we should be always strong. We should always keep strong and not show that we are stressed, not show that we are going through a difficult time. But why? Why is that? You know, it's very, very crucial that we have to acknowledge our big feelings, our big emotions. If we don't acknowledge how we feel, they can explode at certain time. So if we are not feeling okay as a parent, the child is not going to feel okay, because they will look at you as a role model. They will look at you how you are acting or behaving in accordance to the COVID-19 or the current situation that is happening. Because if you are not able to talk about it with your partner and resolve it, many psychologists have said that if you talk about the problem, you might find a solution. But if you don't talk about the problem, you will make the problem even bigger. So which of these two you want to be? You want to be talking about it and finding the solution, or you want to be someone who hides their feelings, and then at certain point in your life, it can explode, and then it's too late to help. So we have to always acknowledge talking about our feelings is key. We need to always understand where our children are when it comes to their own feelings. As basic as that, if you are trying to have a schedule for your children, for example, as I said earlier, don't expect this schedule to work every day. So be flexible. Be flexible with your child. Yes, have a timetable, but then if something is not going right or in according to what has been planned, be flexible and explain to your child that, okay, today we will be changing it because this is what's happening, or because of this is what you're feeling. I am not saying that let your child stop you from doing your homeschooling or eating healthy or doing the things that it's good for them. But I want you to hear your child, and hearing children, it's very different to listening to them. I can be listening to you but not be present. But hearing, it's about listening and actively acting in according to what the child is saying, or in according what the other person is talking about. So we need to practice in our hearing or in our listening. Do we really listen, or are we just trying to do it as a to-do list? So that's very key. How many of you listen, or how many of you hear in this group? I mean, I would be interested to know, how do you answer this question? Okay, so when we look at the overall situation of the COVID-19, we need to do a little exercise. Perhaps, you know, what we can do, you can take a page, draw a line in the middle, yes? And then you can write that things I can do something about. The things that I cannot do anything about. So two lists, excuse my writing, two sides of the story. The question one, how do you go about your problems? So if you have problems, things that you can do something about them, list them. Things that you cannot do anything about them, also list them. You would be surprised that on the second column, where things that you cannot do anything about and is out of your control, there will be more than on the first column. Why is that? We live in a society as a family, as an individual, we live in a community. There are certain things that can happen around us that it's not under our control. So being here and listening to this, I want you to really understand that if you are stressed and if you are not going in according to your own feeling and emotion, you can transfer that to your children. Yes, it's good to talk about stress and anxiety, but as long as it doesn't last forever. Sometimes we don't acknowledge them and then they grow, and as I said, when they explode, and then it's too late. And as a child, it's better to create the sense of having feelings and emotion from early age. And that would help them when they become an adult. It would be much, much easier to understand how they feel as a person, to understand how they can communicate about the things that they don't like or they like. And having a sense of knowing that we cannot control everything around us, it's very important. So with this pandemic that it's happening, with the COVID-19, we need to acknowledge that our children, or children that they are depending on us, they really look up onto us and how we deal with the situation. So make sure you don't see it just as you as a person, but also the impact. Not just feeding them, not just making sure they are doing their homeschooling, but also be there for them, undistracted. Be there without really judging what the feelings are of your children or the people who are around you. And then if we have to talk about the COVID-19, so as I said, the question is, do we have to talk about the COVID-19 to our children? Some of you already said yes. Some people, there is a debate actually. Some people say that no, we should not talk about it, because if we talk about it, we will create anxiety and stress. That's first. The second group of people who are debating, such as psychologists or researchers, they are saying no, actually, if we talk about it, then we can find a solution, then we can help solve the problem or acknowledge it. So which side of the story or the statement you are? I would say the second part, I would suggest the second part is more healthy, because it's, again, if we talk about it to the children, at least we know that the information they're getting it from you rather than from someone else from a different source. Sometimes you would be surprised while they are playing on video games and they're communicating with the other siblings or children or other people that they know, there might be exchange of information. What types of information do they exchange? Or what do they hear while watching the animation or the cartoons online? There are some adverts that comes up. So it's very important to talk about it. And believe me, once you talk about these things, it would get easier rather than hitting them under the carpet. So if we take a step forward about how old your children are, if we talk about the age appropriate, there are some information out there where we can help children develop their emotional feelings by really understanding where they stand first. And if we talk about children, there are some children that here in Dubai, they call them children of determination, children with disability. So we need to also acknowledge that. So it's not only about having one solution that fits every child. We need to really look at every child with a different eye, with an eye that how can we help this child in order to stay safe and secure within their home setting, within their online presence, and within this current situation. So it's very important. Somebody's saying here, there's so many adverts on children TV channel. Yes. So yes, that's good. I mean, if it's appropriate advert, that's very good. So at least it helps them. So I think someone mentioned last week as well that there are songs and there are some dancing going on TV in the UK that they teach children how to understand COVID-19 and how to wash their hands and stay safe and don't touch their faces. So there are materials out there. If you Google it or you go on YouTube, there are so many different activities and tools that you can be using to help children to better understand their feelings and the subject of COVID-19. So I would say, if we are looking at the subject again of the 3 questions that we said, first we have to talk to children about it. We have to use different tools age-appropriate information. And in terms of how do we help them stay safe and emotionally in terms of their mental health, it's all about you guys. It's all about you as a parent. If I ask you to do this, put these two fingers together. I know I can't see you, but can you do this? Put these two fingers together and then place them on your chin. Place them on your chin. Is this my chin? No, this is my chin. So what I am trying to say, I do this in many, many events, and believe me, most people, they copy what I do rather than think that this is the chin and this is the cheek. So how do we expect our children to do something if we as adults are not doing or not believing it? So it's very, very crucial. Walk the talk. Yes, somebody here is laughing. I know. So I'm assuming you placed it on your cheek. So it's very important that we walk the talk. We as adults, we need to be the role model and be there for them and try it for different people. Yeah, I can see everybody's with the emoji laughing. So so it means you did this. But actually, honestly, I was doing an event last year, 4,000 people, and I was on the stage and I did this, and the camera went onto different people and everyone was placing it on their cheeks. So it's crucial, key, to be the person you want your children to be. Don't expect something more or less from your child. And also about the structure in terms of giving a sense of normality. As I said, kids need structure. So first we say the schedule, a playtime and study time. How much playtime you want to give them, how much study time we want to give them. Don't feel sorry that because they don't see their sibling, because they are not in school, because they cannot go on the playground, they can have more online presence. Believe me, you will not do anything good for them by doing this. It's about really having a sense of balance, about making sure that the children understand that even in a crisis like this, in a situation like this, we need to create a sense of balance. Study time, playtime, sleeping time, and I can see here someone say more playtime. Yes, more playtime, it's fine, as long as it's not online and social media. So it's good. I was talking to another parent 3 weeks ago actually, and she was saying that, Maryam, I cannot get my children to study. They are not studying. They're not really accepting the idea of doing homeschooling. So one of the suggestions was that, okay, if they are not getting the idea of that they need to be sitting down and you teaching them, let's turn the other way around. Ask them to teach you about what's in their books. So they can be having the sense of empowerment, a sense of them being a teacher and role play. So it's very important. And then they started doing the role play of themselves being a teacher, and actually while teaching their mother, then they started learning. And so that worked. For some kids might not work, but there are different methods that you can use. And also in another way, it's about really understanding that you cannot expect your children to do the same amount of hours that they do at school at home. So it's very important. We cannot expect them to be exactly like they are in school at home. And this is too much expectation. So yes, they have to do their maths. Yes, they have to do their studies. But at the end of the day, it's a different way of dealing with things, different way that we need to adapt to. I'm just reading here again. Okay. My mother is FaceTiming my daughter and reading her story. Yeah, that's also a good way of doing it in terms of engaging them. But it's also about managing how much time that they can be dealing with around the subject. Okay, so then as a responsible parent and caregivers, if we talk about the online presence, I discussed this previously, that If you want to make sure that they are safe online, we need to check the parental control of how much access do they have when they are online, and also when they are trying to access different platforms of games or things that they are entertaining with. Check the apps, check the platform. Are they safe? Are they good for the children? Is it age appropriate? And one of the other things, like the TikTok, for example. Now every child is on TikTok. But in terms of the online presence for children, as per Facebook, you need to be over 13 years old. So it's very important to really understand that are children using the online presence as a safe platform or not? Because it can be also dangerous for them, and we cannot expect just because they are sitting behind a screen, then this is safer from them being out in the street. So we need to acknowledge that. So Wafa is saying, I'm giving them time to play after that they start doing the homework. Yes, that's very good. So you can also do it like a reward. You can say, some parents don't agree with the reward system, but it has proven, studies and research has proven that a reward system for children always works because they always look forward to something else. So if you say, for example, if you do your homework, then we can have that amount of playtime. Or you can do, sometimes they say, okay, let's play, and if we play, then we have to study. So it depends what works best for your children in that regard. And in terms of responsibility as a person, we need to make sure that we as a person, as an adult, we are emotionally safe. So I hear all the time people saying, I am bored. I mean, how many of you are bored already around this subject of COVID-19? How many of you? Are you bored, or do you have enough things to get on with? So if you cannot enjoy your own company, it's very difficult to be able to adapt to different situations. So as this time, we don't know how long it's going to continue, maybe for another month or two, we need to really change the way that we used to live or the way that we have to adapt to. We have another here saying, what if my kid doesn't want to study and cries? Okay, so how old is your child, Hanoya? Sometimes I get bored, yeah. I mean, getting bored, and she's 8. Okay, so there are different methods that we can use. I mean, she's well aware, she can be aware, because 8 years old, you can communicate with her in terms of why she doesn't want to study. Perhaps she's really having a lot of fears in her and missing her school, missing her friends and the playtime, all of what we had outside of the house platform. So it's very important to acknowledge what are her feelings. Perhaps if you explain to her that this is temporary, it's not going to last forever, then it will give her a sense of security and a sense of that, yes, if I study, then this will be better in a few months' time and I can see still my friends. And some people, what they are doing, they're using the online platforms such as different Zoom or WhatsApp in seeing their friends. I mean, they don't have to be constantly on there and seeing their friends, but mainly they can be active in seeing their friends, or maybe having a play with them online. So that will give her a sense that they didn't just disappear, her friends. They are still there, or the school is still there. And once everybody's back to normal, then they can still see their teachers, they can still see others when it comes to the safety and the security of them. I'm just checking some of the questions that was here as well. Okay. So my daughter is 5. She's so shy to interact in Zoom meeting. Okay, so that's a very good thing that you mentioned here. Thank you for saying it, because we sometimes try to also push them to do things. Just because we think this is the only way that they can interact, we need to hear why they are uncomfortable. Like, if not every child is comfortable to sit in front of the camera. Even adults, as adults, we sometimes find it difficult to sit in the front of the camera and start to talk with the audience or the people around us. So it's important to acknowledge that, okay, Zoom is good, but maybe she prefers sending a voice to her friends. Maybe she prefers to, talk about things by sending games. So we have to really find a way around it rather than trying to push her into doing Zoom calls. So it's very crucial if we try a different method and see how it works better for her. The schools give us so much homework. Well, I have to teach her. Okay. Yes, I mean, this is an unfortunate thing that, yes, some schools have been giving a lot of homeworks. And the idea is that, as I said at the beginning, you cannot expect your child to be exactly how they are when they are at school. If you want to expect them to do exactly 100% that when they were in the school setting, you will not get the same result. And many schools now, they are rethinking that really if they expect them to do the exact thing of what they used to do in school, then what's the point of going back to school? So it's a sense of really having a balance of how they can interact around this subject and how can they stay informed. And the expectation of having them doing exactly the same is not going to be very wise. So we need to really acknowledge that. Okay, true. Okay, great. She likes to send voice to her teacher. Yes, see, so Hanoya, she's already has communicated with you. So she doesn't like the idea of a video, and that's fine, It's the same when we talk about, if a child is not comfortable talking about the virus, as I said, you can do the exercise with the paper plates in asking about their feelings and then breaking the feelings and knowing like, okay, if you feel happy, why do you feel happy? Give me a reason for your happiness. I like to know. Or if you feel sad, why do you feel sad? So there are different aspects. We need to make sure when we hear children, we don't judge. We try to, if for example, they say, I'm sad, don't respond as saying that, why you are sad? You just had your playtime, you just had your study time, you just had your best, your favorite chocolate cake. We cannot it's a difficult situation. Like we cannot keep going as we used to. Sometimes we have to really acknowledge the whole situation as a whole. We are living in a pandemic situation now, and we need to really emotionally be active and emotionally be there for the children and for our partners and for the people who are engaging with us throughout the day. So know the latest fact. That's one thing. As a parent, I want to leave you with few tips. If you are talking about the Covid-19, we said, yes, we should talk about it. We should be talking with them according to the age range. We should be listening to their feelings and hearing them without judging their feelings. If we want them to be safe and secure, you need to be safe and secure. I'm not saying always you need to be positive, always you need to be happy, but it's about acknowledging it with your children, that even if I am sad now, this is why I am sad, and this is what I'm going to do to help myself to come out of this feeling. And similarly for the children, if they are sad, ask them, what would you like to do so maybe you can be feeling better? We don't want to take the sadness feeling out of them. Feeling sad, feeling the sadness and having anxiety, as I said, is normal. We don't want to always tell the children that they should be happy. That's a no-no. If we expect them to do that, when they go back to the normal world, this is not going to work with them, because we need to be able to understand that life is not always 100% bubbly or happy. So we need to make sure we understand how to manage these feelings with ourselves and with our children. And also in terms of telling them that if, for example, because there's one kid that he was saying the other day to me, actually, it's one of my friend's son. He was saying that I will not get COVID-19 because I'm a child. So you see, there has been some research that children will not get it, but they can be a carrier of the virus. So how did this information pass to this child? We don't know. The mother has not communicated that with him. So it's very important that we check where does the information come from and how people are communicating the message to the children. And in terms of the emotional support and the mental health support, if as a parent you're not feeling okay, you need to talk about it. Talk about it to your siblings, to your family, to your friends, or talk about it to your partners. Don't just close that feeling and think because the COVID-19 is happening, I am feeling this way and it's going to go. Talk about it, acknowledge it, try to find a solution, because the impact will be on you, on your family, on your children. So it's very important. And also stay connected virtually, but with a balance. So don't think because we are not allowed to be out in the street and seeing friends face to face, we need to be constantly on the internet, constantly doing video calls. Believe me, it's so much draining. It's too much draining if you are constantly online and constantly trying to speak with different people. So you need to really be creating a sense of balance, creating a sense of idea that, okay, even if I don't see people face to face, I need to limit my virtual presence to maybe 1 or 2 friends a day on a video call rather than 8 hours, because even if you are working as a parent, then you are on webinars, on conference calls, then it goes to when you are speaking to the families, and again, you are online. And the children, they will pick up all this stress and the difficulties that you're going through by spending all your energy online. So bring a sense of balance. So any questions? I'm just reading the questions. Let me check here. I want to make sure I cover all the questions by you. If there is no option for them to choose, what parents should do? To choose from what? Sorry, this is MXR. We also have many responsibilities at home, also our duties works. Yes, so I know you have a lot of things to do at home. Perhaps, you can also talk about this with your children, because now that they don't see their friends, they don't see their teachers, they will expect more from you. They will want more of your presence. Perhaps they would want you 24 hours with them. Even when you are putting them back to sleep, it's very difficult for them to be alone because they feel that fear and stress and anxiety. So you need to explain to them that mommy or daddy has to do this work and you need to be doing this work. And sometimes it's okay just to sit in a corner and not do anything. We shouldn't expect them to always do things, and we shouldn't expect ourselves to always do things around this situation. We need to pause and go in our empty box. I don't know how many of you heard of the empty box. We all have an empty box in our brain, and go to the empty box and think about nothing and just relax. Try to chill. Try to understand that we are all going in this together, and we will be having a better tomorrow. And by not acknowledging what we're going through, we might cause more harm or more difficulties in the future. So acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge your situation, where you stand as a parent or as a caregiver. I'm just looking to see if there's more question. Yes, having a healthy routine is perfect. So for the teenagers, you can ask them to design their own schedule. And for the small children, you can do it with them. You can use like play cards, or you can use different drawings to say, okay, this is playtime, because they don't have a sense of time as we adult, knowing like from 9 to 10. So you can explain this to them so they understand that there is a schedule. It doesn't mean just because we are 24 hours a day in the house, we should be always spending time together. So as we know that this session was supposed to be for 1 hour, so I just want to do a wrap up because it will end in about a few minutes. So as a wrap up, I want you to feel secure, a sense of balance, safe. I know we're all experiencing different things during this COVID-19. Don't judge others. There was a story in the UK that I was reading about last week, that this mother, single parent, she was going to the supermarket and taking her daughter with her. So people were judging her and telling her, you are very irresponsible because you bring your children to the grocery and that might cause more harm to them. But she's a single parent, so what she did, she just cut a paper, wrote on the back and put it on her back saying that I am a single mother. So try not to judge others, not to judge yourself, not to judge your children, because we are all going through this situation together and we want to really minimize the damages out of the situation that we have, and also adapt to a new way of living, adapt to a new way of dealing with things, and not to expect too much from yourself, because we are all trying our best and you are trying your best. So don't expect yourself to be 100% just because you are working from home and you have more time in your hands, but rather do whatever you can and appraise yourself and empower your partners, empower your family and your children, and in staying safe around this subject. If you have more questions or you would like to reach out to the organization Child Safe Me, you can follow us on Child Safe Me on Instagram, and we have the website as well on www.childsafeme.com, and we will be very happy to share with you tools. We also do live webinars and Zooms with parents, and also we try to help everybody, because this is the idea. We are all in this together. And before I end, I'm sure you have all read this book or heard of the book, Happiness and Positivity by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. So what he says, every crisis starts big but ends small. Today's crisis will become the stories of yesterday. Every setback is an opportunity for creativity. So I really, really want you to be creative, to find new ways of dealing with the situation and stay positive. And it's okay if you don't feel positive one day and not the other, just because we are not perfect. Everybody has different emotions and feelings. Thank you so much. And if there isn't any more questions, I will end the session and hope to connect with you in a different platform or a different place again. Thank you very much. Thank you.